It's pretty clear to me from the October hearing that there were a number of security recommendations that you wanted to see done on the ground. At any time during your service there, did you ever get everything that you wanted? Were the recommendations that you were making forward, were you actually able to implement those security recommendations?
Very few of them.
Very few of them. Mr. Hicks, is it fair to say that the people on the ground trying to make the security decisions, that they were not able to get the resources, they weren't able to fortify the facility, they didn't have the personnel that they requested? Is that fair to say?
Yes, it's fair to say.
When I saw Secretary Clinton 4.5 months after the attack in Benghazi testify before the United States Congress that she didn't make the security decisions, you made the security decisions, Mr. Nordstrom. You're the regional security officer on the ground. You are the chief security person. You're the ones that made the security decisions. True or false?
The response I got from the regional director when I raised the issues that we were short of our standards for physical security was that my, quote, tone was not helpful.
So true or false? The security decisions on the ground in Libya were made by you.
I would have liked to have thought, but apparently no.
Mr. Hicks, when you heard and saw that, did you have a reaction to it? What's your personal opinion?
When I was there, I was very frustrated by the situation, at times even frightened by the threat scenario that we were looking at relative to the resources we had to try to mitigate that threat scenario.
And to the leadership of this committee on both sides of the aisle, I find it stunning that 4.5 months after the attack, Secretary Clinton still has the gall to say, it wasn't us, it was them. I take full responsibility, but I'm not going to hold anybody accountable, but it was them that made the decisions. That was not the case. I yield to the gentleman from Ohio.
I thank the gentleman. Mr. Nordstrom, you testified in October there were 200 and some security incidences in Libya the 13 months prior to the attack. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Repeated attempts to breach the facility there. You repeatedly asked for additional security personnel, and it was denied, correct?
That's correct.
Not only denied, but it was reduced, correct?
That's correct.
And then 4.5 months after it all happens, the Secretary of State says, you were responsible for the security situation in Libya. That's what we have. That is exactly what we have. You repeatedly asked, send us some more of the good guys. They said, we can't do it. In fact, we're going to take some of them away. You guys are on your own. They made that decision in Washington. In fact, Mr. Nordstrom, the hearing ended in October. The only hearing we had last fall before an election, hearing ended with you referring to the folks in Washington, your superiors, who wouldn't give you what you needed, you referring to them as the Taliban. Is that correct?
Yes.
Remember that? Can you remember that statement you made?
Yeah, I've had a lot of questions about that metaphor.
Understand. But for them to say now you're responsible for the security situation flies in the face of fact. I yield back to the gentleman.
I thank the gentleman. Mr. Chairman, one of the things I see in the Accountability Review Board, page 37, that I just find, first of all, I want to highlight, quote, Embassy Tripoli staff showed absolute dedication and teamwork in mobilizing to respond to the crisis with the DCM, and then it goes on there, naming you specifically for your heroism and for your work. That's what I saw. I could see it in your eyes, and I could see it in the others. God bless you for the great work that you did. But the next paragraph, Mr. Chairman, I have a real problem with. It says in the third sentence, the board found no evidence of any undue delays or decision-making or denial of support from Washington or from the military combatant commanders. And as we've heard here today, that is not true. And the next sentence is the most troubling. Quite the contrary, the safe evacuation of all U.S. government personnel from Benghazi 12 hours after the initial attack. That's not true. There are 4 people that were not safely evacuated. And at the very beginning of the ARP, it says, quote, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. I think that's true. We always have to remember them. And we can't allow this ARB to say that everybody was safely evacuated, because they weren't. But there was an awful lot of heroism.
I thank the gentleman.
Well, thank
That's so true.